Hey there, welcome back. And you may notice some differences while we're running around. So, I want to go through and explain what I've been doing. It's been a few days since I've actually recorded. I've just been trying to set some things up. One of the things I set up was a stop system. So, when you release the button from movement, it will play a stop animation that is matching the predicted stop location. And the other things are just like minor updates that I want to catch you all up with that is important to setting up all of that other stuff too. I think I added Sprint last time. Sprint doesn't work great because it's just basically a debug button in the blueprint. So I wanted to go through and set up a new Sprint button too. So we're just going to go through slowly with those updates so I can take you through what changed. I may not have a reason for everything. Some things I copied from another ABP in the project or copied from my Project Nico game with my little girl and the blue character, blue hair and the pink cape. So let's get started. So as you can see here, the first thing I want to show you that I did was update the lean poses. So let's go to the lean poses. We're in our loco additive and we're now in our lean. We look at lean right and lean left. And here, what you can see, let me turn on the floor and the environment. So our root location is this X right here. Let me turn on my widget thingies. Okie dokie. So our root location is right there. So basically, what I wanted to do was if we think our character, we draw over this character. If our root is here, if I can draw a straight line, our capsule is right here. So before, what I did was I rotated this character and just basically where the root was. So the character was basically out here like this, all cool, like all outside the capsule. So when I turned the capsule on in the engine and then played it, I noticed that, hey, we've got this huge gap on both sides. So for our right and our left. So I made this change for our right and left. So basically all I did was take the root. Let's come here. Let's take our root. Let's go to move. So if our root was here in its original location, I just moved it to where the neck is basically over the root bone. So it's similar to the update I did where um, on the forward locomotion. So if we look at that, we can see that the neck is basically over, or the shoulders are basically over the root bone. And before, we just take the root and move it. Say if this is the original root location here, the animation was more like this. So same thing. If your capsule's here, your character's outside your capsule this much. And when you run into a wall, the capsule will run into the wall and you'll have this brief moment where the character is clipping the wall before they slow down. So let's go to version control somewhere over here. There we are. Make sure we don't have any changes there. Okay. So that was our right and our left lean poses. So we just changed those. So now our original root location is here. Our head, our neck is more or less over our root. Say just eyeball it. I need to just eyeball that a little bit better right there. Hit S key and save it. So we made that update. So again, let's have it a look. And you can see when we lean now, so if we like super lean, we can see that we are still staying within the capsule for the head. And now the legs kick out of the capsule. And that feels, I don't know about you, but when I'm looking at this and playing with it, it really feels like a tighter, more athletic sort of movement. And that feels really nice. Um, okay. So actually, let's go ahead and just for funsies, I can't help myself sometimes, but let's show the left turn route. Where am I? Here we are. Let's go to the curve. Go to location and set that to 0, 0, enter. Then we'll play. So like every time we rotate left, we'll see that we're really like outside that capsule there, like that. And that doesn't feel as good. And see, like when we're leaning further, that doesn't feel as good as when, like, at least to me, preference. Um, choose what's best for your project, but that right turn feels a lot tighter than that left turn. Okay, so we've made a change, few changes, and we're going to undo that change. And our animation pops back to how it was. So nice. Looks like we've got some rotation on that route I don't want, maybe. Let's see here. That's a 0. Open this up. That's 0, and that's 0. Maybe it's on the pelvis. I think it is. But there's no curve here on the pelvis. So I'm going to rotate that back out. Just like that. And a little forward. It might have something to do with... Actually, I'll just leave it. It might have to do with the fact that we retargeted those anims from their original location. Anyway, I can live with that. Let's undo that change. So let's move on. The next thing I did was activate a plugin that we'll use later. So I just wanted to show this now. If you go to plugins and you type animation loco, then library, you'll see this Locomotion library come up. And over here, I'll bring this over. So what we'll be doing eventually is distance matching here from the Unreal, what is this? The learning documentation. Okay, so there's a nice, very nice tutorial about how to set up distance matching and everything that you need to do to set that up. So part of that setup here is activating our plugin, our animation locomotion library plugin. And when you're here, you click on these two links and then I'll bring up this one, which gives us this node, the predict movement pivot location and predict ground movement stop location. And then the next set of nodes, advanced time by distance matching, distance match to target, and set play rate to match speed. So those are the nodes that we'll be using eventually. So activating that plugin now will get you ahead of the game. No pun intended when I say game. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do in the distance matching tutorial on the documentation is we're going to be setting up eventually a distance matched animation, which requires a certain type of compression on the animation curve. So I'll show you how to set that up right now. So it's really simple. I set up a new folder called compression. If you right click in here and type compression, we're looking for curve compression settings. So you'll click that and that'll give us a new curve compression setting. So if you double click that and you just want to change this drop down to uniform indexable, once you do that, you've got your new curve. We can go to, say, an animation, and that curve should now be available to us in our curve compression settings. If we drop down, we see our new anim curve that we just created. So cool. And we will use that later for any animation that we want to have distance matching on. So that is those two things: animation locomotion library and our uh, animation compression curve settings. Okay, the next thing, we will go to our blueprint, wherever that is. I actually don't know off the top of my head, as I didn't set this project up. There it is, blueprint tutorial. I'm going to move this to our tutorial folder here. Move here. So that way it sits with my animation blueprint. So we go to the tutorial blueprint. Um, this was originally just a duplication of the original blueprint, which was, we come here, likely this one, third person character. So I've added some things in here, just some debugs, like this print string to show me if I've inverted the mouse location, because I'm one of those weirdos that needs the yaw pitch inverted. I'm sorry, not the yaw pitch, the mouse pitch inverted. Um, Whether or not we're in strafe mode and whether or not we're sprinting. So toggling strafe, I think I might have showed that, but I just have the debug. I've got middle mouse click here. I could use a flip flop, but I actually like using the this branch setup. I guess you could use I'm not too familiar with it. Haven't quite used it. If you get the variable, you can right click on it and convert to a branch. So you probably skip this. So it's probably the same as saying, if you're false, come here instead of the true, and if you're true, come here instead of the false. And that should work. So let's see. So strafe is true. Now strafe is false. And you can really tell that when you're running left to right. Now strafe is true. Now strafe is false. Cool. Okay, so let's do that. Let's keep that neato. Um, so basically, it's kind of like a flip flop, but this allows me like a little bit more tighter control over it. So we've got the true, false branch here. If it's false, then we set it to true. If it's true, then we set it to false. And then we change our controller settings. So we change our character movement to, we're not strafing, so it's not strafe movement. So basically, the character will be running in the direction that that mouse input says to run into, and or keyboard input says to run to. So if right now we're strafing, so we're moving backward, and I am facing the opposite direction. But if we go to strafing, I'm saying non-strafing, then our character will always move in the direction that they're moving rather than always facing the camera direction. That's all this is saying. So I like these settings. For your camera, you can just pull out your camera here and set uh, pawn control rotation. You know, you can just dupe that, set it again, make sure to hook up your camera, and I guess it's always going to be true, but just in case, um, maybe it's not on one of my other projects. I'll have to go back and look. But these are the settings I'm using right now. So basically, we're just changing the camera, the the character movement settings. For strafing, we're just flip flopping these. Use controlled desired rotation is off. for non-strafing and on for strafing, and orient rotation to movement is on for non-strafing and off for strafing. Okay, so that's strafing. So now we have our sprint set up, and sprint's the same. Oh, looks like I'm already using one of those fancy um, new branches here for sprint. Same thing. When we press the button, we are setting sprint to true, and then we're setting our walk speed to our default is 600. So here, when we release, we set it back to 600, and then we set it to I like 1.5 times uh, above our default walk speed. So that'll be 900. So we're just setting that in there from our character movement component. So you just drag out your character movement component like we did with our camera boom and set that up. So you'll type max walk speed and you'll get that variable. And if you're ever wondering what variables are available, you can just click on your character movement component or your camera boom and you can see everything here. All of these things are the variables that you can get. So if you ever want to change those at runtime based off certain things that the player is doing or a certain optionality that the player has, you can set them there in your blueprint or in your code. Okie dokie. So what I wanted to do was create a new shift button. So I'm using the inputs here. So we're going just to the default input folder. I haven't done anything with these. Just going to expand it a little bit. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to duplicate it and call it sprint and then save it. That should be good. That's a 2D vector, digital bool. Let's actually create one by default. Input something or other. Input action. That's it. Copy, delete, and then that'll be our new sprint. Just want to see. Yeah, it's a digital bool because I don't think I want to change any of those things. And then we'll come back to our IMC default, our input modes, our mappings. So we have our jump, our move, and our look actions, which are here. And then we're going to add, looks like there's a lot more, huh? Sprint. So I actually need to see, so if we go to our third person blueprints, and it's our player controller. So we click on our player controller just to see which enhanced input movement they're looking at. So we got our mouse look there, and we've got our default here. Okay. So we're going to save our default. We're going to come to sprints. We're going to set it to, if you just click this button and then click your mouse, your keyboard key, it'll be shift, left shift, or whatever button you want sprint to be. Our triggers are pressed. Pressed or hold. We'll do pressed. So just going to save that. Then it kind of going to come back to our controller. There it is. I actually don't have this set up the same way because I do this all in my blueprint in my other project. So let's see here. Oh, I'm sorry, not our controller. That's fine. Not our controller. Go to our blueprints, which is still open. And we're looking for our input actions here. So compile. We're going to say input action sprint. It's this one. So when we're triggered, we will come here. And when we're canceled or completed, we will come here. And or when we're started. That's probably good enough. It might be too much, but so We are not sprinting. Input action, AI sprint. Gotcha. Let me come back here to our controller. Let me see where we're using this controller. Third person game. Yeah, I changed that to our BP tutorial. This is still our player controller. Oh, player controller. Let me see. Let's go to the blueprint, see if there's some input actions here. This is the sort of stuff I do like once or twice and then never do again. Um, so yeah, let's reference this. Third person game mode. Okay. That's this one right here. Browse asset. Yeah, that's that one. Player controller. PB third person player controller. And then there's just that. Where's that one actually referenced? Oh, right there. Player controller class. Replace spectator player controller class. Oh, okay. That's that one. So there it is. Neato. Okay, found it. That took too long. Okay. We've got IMC default, which was here. Pressed. Do I need a modifier? I don't think so. Dead zone. Trash that. Left shift. Let me just make sure that I don't need to get rid of this left shift here. We're going to play again. I'm going to watch this. And then I'm hitting left shift. Oh. Take that off. Of getting rid of the completed. Okay, there we are. Okay. So the one thing I wanted to do here, so if we just take off left shift. Huh. Maybe hold is the right one. Got a lawnmower in the back. Not sure if you guys hear that. So pressed and hold. What's the difference? I'm not sure. Down. Trigger fires when the input exceeds the actuation threshold. Hold. Trigger fires once input has remained actuated for hold time. Oh, don't want that. Trigger fires once only when input exceeds the actuation threshold. Holding the input will not cause further triggers. Or repeated fire. That's interesting. That would be good for like shooting a weapon. Pressed. Released. Okay. That should be fine. Okay, let's go back. Left shift. Might be my setup here. As soon as I find the blueprint, here we are. Input action. Completed. Canceled. Ongoing. See if I need this start hooked up or not. I'm still says sprinting is true. So it's not getting a completed at all. It's interesting that it's firing off the completed also. So this probably shouldn't have been the longest part of the, the video. Let's see here. But I am going to go to my other project and see how that's set up because that's usually when I forget stuff. I'm like, I know I've got it someplace else. So let me look into that. Ongoing, started, completed. Trigger state has transitioned from triggered to none this frame. Triggering has finished. So, but if I just go to started, I don't think that'll give me. I don't think that'll give me what I'm looking for. Okay, this is open. The other project. So let's try to find input here. I am not sure where I put this. Don't move that folder. Characters. BP input. Here we are. Do lots of stuff in this game. IMC. Just looking for sprint. Left shift. Triggers. Oh, down. Press. Down. Down. I never made it up there. So let's try that. Let's actually go to my BP. So BP player. Just to do the full circle. Um, Sometimes you teach yourself something when you have completely forgotten it and haven't done it in a while. My crazy blueprint here. Sprint. Okay. Triggered, started, canceled, and completed. So down. Okay. Let's see how this works out. Triggered, canceled. I'm triggered now. Okay, so let's move that there. Clean that up because I like cleanliness. And then we're going to go back to our IMC. We're going to change this to down and save. And then we're going to play and true, false, true, false. Great. Okay, so now we're speeding up. Then when we release the button, we are slowing down. So here, that's much better. Okay, because I had set up something to where if you're moving a certain direction, then you can't activate sprint. Okay, so yeah, now that we're down, so we're not sprinting. Okay, that's perfect. All right, so let's go back to our blueprint and look that up. So we have sprint here, and we're saying can sprint here. So we've got this bool that says can sprint. And if can sprint is true, then we will sprint and we'll change our speed. If can sprint is false, then we won't sprint, no matter if this is triggered or not. We'll come down here to this branch and we'll say not sprinting and we'll change our speed back to 600. So up here on our event tick, right here, we're setting some common vars. So I've got a function in here. So not much here, just getting our current direction. And then we're using our current direction to figure out if we are moving forward. So basically, if we're looking down at our character like this, whoops, we come over here, we take this snapshot. This is 0 right there. So if it's a straight line, if I could draw like perfectly straight, that's 0 right there. This is a negative value when you go this way. This is a positive value when you go this way. So you think about it like, I think about it like right and then left. So this would be negative 90 here. And then over here, halfway, that's like negative 45. And then over here is positive 45. So basically, I'm just saying if you're running forward, forward right, or forward left, then you can sprint. So this is a good sprint zone right here. And then anything outside of that sprint zone, which is all of this here, which is our backward, left, right, backward left, and backward right. So if you're in any of this cone right here, then you cannot sprint. So that's just what we're checking right here. We're saying within our range, so current direction, so current direction, which we just set back here. It's pretty simple. Get your velocity. You just use this node, calculate direction. You get your character movement, your velocity. You pipe in your velocity. You get your actual rotation as your base rotation, and then that is your direction. So we use that variable in our current direction as our value to figure out what's the range we want to be in based off that direction. That's our negative 45 and 45. We're going to go ahead and include these as true. So basically, it's like a less than or equal to here. Well, I guess it's a negative value, greater than or equal to here, and then less than or equal to here for 45 and negative 45. So we've got our in range float. So uh, in range float. That's what you're looking for. You'll type in your values, and then you'll branch that off, and then you're setting your can sprint or your can sprint true or your can not sprint or can sprint false. So when we have our properly working input action, it's reading those values on the fly based off our triggered. So our triggered is just, is it down, and it does it continue to be down? And if so, then it is continuously triggered. So it's always asking basically, am I in that direction? So right here, it is not in that direction anymore. Going left, going right, going backwards, left and backwards, right and backwards. But then now we're moving forward and we can sprint because we're now in negative 45 and 45. So, and then now we're not sprinting again. And you can keep your sprint button pressed the entire time. So I like to press mine, give my pinky finger a little bit of a workout. Okay, I think I want to say um, that is all of the updates I can make it through considering the time I've got today. So hopefully you guys found that helpful, and we'll continue forward with all of the other changes I've made, and we'll get started with the animation blueprint next time. All right, happy animating out there. Hopefully you're enjoying that journey as much as I am, and what you're doing is bringing you lots of joy. I want to say that if it's not bringing you joy, uh, maybe this stuff you haven't found like the right bit of what you want to do yet. And I think that's okay. And you working through that will help you figure out what it is that you do want to do and what it is that you don't want to do. And I don't know, there's something about this puzzle of like putting this game together and making the player do something really cool based off the code that you're setting up and the player input, and having those like work together. And it's just this really joyful thing for me. So I hope that if this isn't joyful for you, that's fine. Go out there and find the thing that is bringing you lots of joy, and hopefully you can share that with others. And that's the thing I like to do. So long outro, but thanks for being here. Really appreciate you. Have fun.